Ever get the feeling that Bitcoin is like, I don't know, kind of misunderstood?
Totally. It's everywhere you look, but still this big mystery.
Right. Today, we're tackling that head on, diving into this article that's all about like busting Bitcoin myths.
Love it. Myth busting is the best.
Okay, so myth number one, Bitcoin. It's just digital gold, right? Only good for being a store of value.
Yeah, you hear that one all the time.
But this article, it points out that even that is a huge deal. Like, we're talking potential global reserve currency here.
See, most people miss that.
Yeah.
It's not just about, stashing some cash under your digital mattress. It's about changing the whole game of how value is held globally. Historically, that's been controlled by, well, powerful countries, right?
Makes sense.
But Bitcoin flips the script. Suddenly, it's individuals with the power, this financial sovereignty thing, just by holding Bitcoin.
Okay, mind blown already. But this article is all about getting real. So myth number two, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Totally speculative, all about the price going up and down, no real use cases, except that's just not true.
Yeah, this article brings receipts. It dives into how people are using Bitcoin right now, stuff like remittances,
Yeah.
big in countries with like high fees to send money back home.
Oh, so instead of losing like half their money to Western Union or whatever, they use Bitcoin.
Exactly. Way cheaper, way faster. And then there's those places, where the government's kind of shaky or the economy is a mess.
Right.
Bitcoin becomes the safety net, protect your savings from crazy inflation, that kind of thing.
Powerful stuff. Okay, myth number three, Bitcoin's too slow, right? Like all those transaction times we hear about, no way it could handle everyday payments.
That's where the Lightning Network comes in. It's like,
Oh, hold on. Before you explain that, I got to tell you, this stat from the article, it blew my mind. In 2021, Bitcoin actually settled more value than Visa. Wild, right?
it's about what's happening on top of Bitcoin. The Lightning Network, it's like a payment superhighway built for speed.
So two layers, one for big stuff, one for everyday transactions.
Exactly. It takes the load off the main Bitcoin blockchain. And sure, maybe we're not buying coffee with it yet, but for high-value stuff, it's already outpacing the giants.
Okay, that makes more sense. Myth number four, no smart contracts on Bitcoin. It can't handle them.
True, it's a different approach than, say, Ethereum, which is all about complex smart contracts. Bitcoin's more about security by design, keeping things simpler, more robust.
The article called it security by design. But how does that work in practice?
So instead of this big, complex system that's more prone to, like, hacks and vulnerabilities, Bitcoin uses simpler contracts, but they're built on rock-solid features. Think multi-signature transactions, where several people need to sign off before anything happens.
Ah, so it's like multiple layers of authorization. Makes it
Yeah.
harder to mess things up.
Exactly. Or time-locked transactions funds are locked up for a set period, builds trust, prevents certain types of fraud.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not about being the flashiest. It's about that strong, secure foundation.
Exactly. Like building a house, you want that foundation to be solid, right?
100%. Which brings us to myth number five. Bitcoin is outdated. All these new cryptocurrencies popping up, it's got to be old news by now.
Easy to think that with all the hype around the new stuff. But with Bitcoin, you got to look beyond that. Take the 10-minute block time, for example.
The article mentioned that. Why is it so slow? Other blockchains are like, we do transactions in seconds.
Sure, speed sounds great, but Bitcoin's priority isn't just speed, it's security and decentralization. And that 10-minute interval, that's key.
Okay, break it down for me.
Imagine trying to get a bunch of people all over the world to agree on something important. Takes time, right? To communicate, make sure everyone's on the same page.
So it's like building a global consensus, one block at a time.
Exactly. That 10-minute window, it lets the network confirm transactions, prevent double spending, all that good stuff. It's slow and steady wins the race, especially when we're talking about money.
Makes sense. Speaking of competition, myth number six is all about altcoins. The article even brought up this whole debate between a Bitcoin enthusiast and an altcoin fan. What was the takeaway there?
Basically, new doesn't always mean better. Just because an altcoin has fancy features or promises to be faster, it doesn't mean it's inherently superior.
Yeah, it's like that with any new technology, right? Got to cut through the hype.
Exactly. And when we're talking about money, things like security, decentralization, that established network, Bitcoin's been around for over a decade. It's got a proven track record. Many altcoins just haven't built that same level of trust and resilience.
So it's not just the tech itself, it's the whole ecosystem that's grown around it.
100%. And that matters a lot. It's the difference between a bustling city with established infrastructure and a promising new settlement. Both have their place, but you got to understand the trade-offs.
That's a great way to put it. So are there any other common misconceptions about Bitcoin that you hear a lot?
Oh, yeah, tons. One that comes up all the time is that it's only used for legal stuff, like buying things on the dark web.
Oh yeah, that old chestnut. But isn't that a bit like saying cash is only used for illegal stuff? I mean, it's
Yeah.
been around for centuries, and people haven't stopped using it for shady deals.
Exactly. And, because of the blockchain, every Bitcoin transaction is recorded and traceable. That actually makes it harder to use for illegal activities than cash.
It's like they always say, follow the money. And with Bitcoin, the trail is right there for everyone to see.
Right. Now, another big one is that it's just too volatile, that the price swings are too wild for it to be a real currency.
Yeah, I know people who are terrified to even touch Bitcoin because of the volatility. They see the price go up and down and they think, nope, not getting on that roller coaster.
And yeah, it has been a wild ride. But that's kind of what happens with new technologies, right? Remember the early days of the internet, the dot-com bubble, crazy volatility, but those who saw the potential were rewarded.
So you're saying this is a long game, not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Exactly. It's about understanding that Bitcoin is still in its early stages, and as it matures, we can expect the volatility to decrease.
So it's like that pendulum that's swinging wildly right now, but eventually it'll start to settle down.
Exactly. And when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the long-term trend for Bitcoin is clear, upward and to the right.
Okay, so we've talked about Bitcoin being used for illegal activities, and we've talked about its volatility. What other myths are out there?
Well, some people are convinced that Bitcoin is easily hackable, that someone could just, break into the system and steal all the Bitcoin.
Wait, really? I thought the whole point of blockchain technology was that it was supposed to be super secure.
It is. And to be fair, anything connected to the internet is technically hackable. But with Bitcoin, you'd have to hack a majority of the computers on the network simultaneously. It's like trying to break into Fort Knox.
Yeah, good luck with that. So it's not the blockchain itself that's vulnerable, it's the places where people store their Bitcoin, like exchanges or online wallets.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to choose reputable platforms and practice good security hygiene, just like you would with your bank account or email.
Got it. Don't put all your eggs or Bitcoin in one basket. This has been amazing. So many Bitcoin myths debunked. What's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that Bitcoin is still relatively new. Like any new technology, it's got its pros and cons, its fans and its critics. The key is to stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into even more myths and explore some of the latest developments in the world of Bitcoin. Don't go anywhere. All right, back for more Bitcoin myth busting.
Round two. Let's do it.
So this one's kind of interesting. Some people think Bitcoin is only used for like illegal stuff, dark web purchases, that kind of thing.
The old Bitcoin is for criminals. Myth. It's a classic.
Yeah, but is there any truth to it?
Well, it's true that Bitcoin offers a degree of anonymity, which can be appealing to people engaged in illegal activities. But here's the thing.
It's not like criminals have suddenly stopped using cash.
Exactly. Cash is still king when it comes to anonymity. Plus, the blockchain actually makes Bitcoin a terrible choice for criminals because every transaction is recorded and publicly viewable.
So it's more traceable than cash, not less.
Way more traceable. Law enforcement agencies actually love it when criminals use Bitcoin because it leaves a permanent trail.
It's like they say, follow the money. And with Bitcoin, the money leaves a very clear trail.
A digital breadcrumb trail. All right, let's move on to another big one. Bitcoin's volatility. People see the price swings and they freak out.
I get it. It can be kind of scary watching the price go up and down like a roller coaster.
Tell me about it. But here's the thing about volatility. It's often a sign of innovation and early adoption. Think about the early days of the internet or even the dot-com boom. Lots of volatility back then, but those who held on were rewarded.
So you're saying Bitcoin is still in its early stages, and as it matures, we can expect less volatility.
Exactly. And if you look at the long-term price chart, the trend is clear, upward and to the right.
So don't panic sell when you see those dips.
Definitely not. Those dips can be buying opportunities for those with a long-term perspective.
Okay, we've covered illegal activities and volatility. What other Bitcoin myths are out there?
Well, some people believe that Bitcoin is easily hackable, that someone could just break into the system and steal everyone's Bitcoin.
Wait, seriously. I thought the whole point of the blockchain was that it was supposed to be like super secure and impossible to hack.
It is. And for the most part, that's true. The blockchain itself is incredibly secure. To hack Bitcoin, you would need to control a majority of the computing power on the network, which is
Pretty much impossible, right?
pretty much. But that doesn't mean there are no vulnerabilities. It's not the blockchain itself that gets hacked. It's the platforms where people store their Bitcoin exchanges, online wallets, that sort of thing.
So it's like any other digital platform. There's always a risk of hacking if you're not careful about security.
Exactly. That's why it's crucial to choose reputable exchanges and wallets and to practice good security hygiene. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, all that good stuff.
Don't store all your Bitcoin in one place just in case.
Precisely. Diversify your risk, just like you would with any other investment.
So we've tackled quite a few Bitcoin myths today, and my brain is officially full. But there's still one big question I have. So we've tackled quite a few Bitcoin myths today, and my brain is officially full. But there's still one big question I have. What's next? Where does Bitcoin go from here?
That's the million-dollar question, right? If I had a crystal ball, I'd be on a beach somewhere not talking to you.
No, fair enough. But seriously, any predictions?
Predictions are tough, but we can look at the trends. One thing's for sure, Bitcoin's not going away anytime soon. It sparked this whole global conversation about money, about finance. That's not going to just disappear.
So even if someone thinks Bitcoin itself won't be the big thing, this whole thing, it started. That's important in itself.
Exactly. Blockchain technology, decentralization, those ideas are out there now, changing how people think. That's Bitcoin's legacy, even if its price went to zero tomorrow, which it won't.
Right, right. So more people using it, more businesses accepting it.
Could be. Or maybe something we haven't even thought of yet comes along. That's the exciting part. We're still so early in this whole thing. Who knows what problems Bitcoin or things like Bitcoin will solve down the line.
Okay, now that is exciting. It's like we talk about all these myths, all this tech stuff, but at its core, Bitcoin's about potential.
Right. 100%. It's about potential. It's about possibilities. It's about asking what if and then actually trying to build it. That's what's so cool about this space.
I love that. What if, indeed. Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on today, busted some myths, sparked some new ideas.
Hopefully spark some curiosity, too.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, keep that curiosity going. Dive deeper into Bitcoin, into blockchain, into this whole world of decentralized finance. It's complex, it's challenging, but it's also incredibly exciting.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to invent the next big thing that changes the world.
That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin. We'll be back soon with another episode exploring a new and fascinating topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep asking those what-if questions.